Okay, so this is your introduction to Lab 1. And really the whole purpose of this video is just to sort of familiarize you a little bit with, what you have. I have, a meter like this. You'll be getting a different meter when you come to school. You should have been shipped out a meter that looks like this. This is a Craftsman meter. It's category 2, 600 volts. Not going to get into the categories, but it's actually got quite a few functions on here. Some of the interesting functions is that, it's not quite as auto reading as, perhaps your other meter that you're going to be getting will be for auto range. But here's where your wires go. We got the black always goes into the common here. So I'm going to put that in. You really got to make sure that it goes all the way in. So you got to push fairly hard. And then the red one goes into here. And again, push fairly hard to get it in there. This one here is for the black. So when you're measuring current later on in some of the labs, you're going to take that out and you're going to put it in there, you see. But anytime you're reading, resistance or voltage or anything other than current, you're going to be using these two. So these are your primary. Remember red and black and black. So these are functions. So if you look at, it's currently in the off mode. I turn it to here, and this is going to be voltage AC or alternating current. And this is up to 600. This will be 200, up to 200. So if your voltage is over 200, you got to go to 600. If you don't know what your voltage is, then you always go to 600. You always go to the highest setting and then move down. And then we've got AC amperage. So this is amperage AC up to 200 milliamps for that setting, and then 10 amps on that setting. And then this one here, we've got, this is for the DC amps. You can see the A DC here. So this is DC amps up to 200 milliamps, and then DC amps up to 10 amps. And then this one is a battery check. So this is if you want to check a 1.5 volt battery, so a little pen light, like a AA, AAA battery. This is for a 9 volt battery check. And I have a 9 volt battery here, so let's check to see how strong my 9 volt battery is. So let's take a look. And on the battery, you're going to see a negative on the big side, a positive on the other. So I want to put the negative, my black, on the negative, and I want to put my positive, my red, on this one here. So I get 9.25 volts, which is pretty good. I've got another battery here, which is a little weaker. I want to show you what that would look like if you have a weaker battery. So this one is 6. Drop them quick. Look, 5.2. And if I was to put a load on that, it would drop off even faster. I could put a little resistor across there and it should drop off a little bit more. It's just, it doesn't have the current capability. See, it's just dropped right down to nothing. So, a good way to check a battery is just throw a resistor across it with your meter and see if it's good. But that's what your meter is essentially doing. It's putting a little load on it. It's testing it. So that battery is no good. This one here is good. Look, if I take my meter and I put my positive from the meter on the negative of the battery, and I put my negative on the positive, I get a negative value of voltage. And it's not like I'm not getting negative 9.28 volts. It's just that I have the positive on the negative and the negative on my meter on the positive. So I switch that back around and I'm going to end up with a positive voltage here. So if we want to check voltage DC, I'll go up to here, and I know that my volts for this is going to be definitely below 20 volts. So I'll do that and we'll see how it reads out. So same deal. Notice that it's a little bit higher. It's 9.48. When you go to the load check on the battery, we were getting a little bit lower on that, 9.31. The reason is because the meter is actually putting a little bit of a load on the battery. And how you check a battery is under load. And if it drops off too fast, if you lose too much voltage, then you know the battery is no good. And that's what I was explaining with this. When I put a resistor across it, it's already a weak battery. It's a dead battery. I only put 33 ohms of resistance across it, and the voltage just dropped right down. So back to the meter. So notice I haven't changed any of these. So 9 volt battery. This is your continuity test and the diode test. So I'll do continuity first. So continuity, it looks like this little Wi-Fi symbol here, and it's on the end, and it rings. So all it's doing is, by it ringing, is telling me that there's a path. There's a path. No path, high resistance. A path, very low resistance. And then we get to these functions here, and this is for ohms. And so if I happen to know I have a resistor that is under 200 ohms, then I'm going to set it to that. This one here is a 33 ohm resistor. It's a orange black. So I'm going to put that across there and there. I'm going to read that. So 33, actually a little high on that. Surprise. So 37.4 ohms. So anyway, that's okay. It's might just be within range. It's pretty close. Actually, looks like it might be a little out of range. So you can see how much resistance is there. If I was to go up to the next setting here, 2,000 ohms, it's going to give me 0.33 out of 1,000 range. So you always want to make sure that you're on the correct setting. So there we go, 33 ohms. Isn't that odd? I put it back there and it's giving me a more accurate reading now. Okay, so I'm going to go back to continuity, and I can hear it ring. And this is also a diode check here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to check this diode. This is a light emitting diode, and see if that lights up, because that's actually how these meters work. It puts a tiny bit of current through this. So hopefully you'll be able to see this. Not sure if you can see that. So I know it's hard to see, but it's illuminating. It's illuminating just a little bit. There we go. We can see a little better there. So that's a diode check, and that's a LED. You can use that for standard diodes that look like this. This is your standard diode, and the other one was your light emitting diode. And again, so back to the meter. So we got ohms, 200, 2,000, 20,000. So, if I was to measure another resistor, let's take a look at this one here. I've got this resistor here I'm showing is gray, which is 8, red is 2, black. So this should be about 82 ohms. So 82 ohms is what I'm expecting this is going to read in at. And let's take a look. So I'm going to put it, I know it's definitely below the 200, so I'm going to put it on that. And I'll put that on there and see what read. Yeah, so 81.6 ohms. So that's good. So meters is functioning properly. And then, if you have really big, values like over 200,000 ohms, if you have a resistor over 200,000 ohms, you'd use that one. If this one, if your resistor is under 200,000 ohms, you can use that one. If it's under 20,000, you're going to use that one. If it's under 2,000, you use that one. And if it's under 200, you use that one. And then voltage DC. So how you can measure your voltage DC. You're also given what's called a little 9-volt snap connector. And that just when you're connecting these, just make sure that these don't touch, because if you short out the battery, then it's gonna get hot, and it could damage the battery, could even explode. So that just snaps on there like that, and the purpose of that is so you can put it into your breadboard on your power rails, right? So I can put this in my power rail here like that, and over here like this. So now I've got a positive on one side, I've got a negative on the other. So let's just check this with the meter. So I'm going to go to the 20 volt DC. This is direct current, it's DC. And I'm going to put this one on here, and I'm going to put this one on here. And now we have, going into the breadboard, we have 9.48 volts. I'm going to put a little bit of load on it. So I'm going to put it over to the 9 volt setting. And it'll drop down just a little bit, 9.3. Yep, there you go. Anyway, that's your introduction to the meter. It is rated for 600 volts. I would be, somewhat hesitant myself to stick it into the wall and check 120 volts on it myself. So the unit, what you do is you peel this off like this in order to get to the battery compartment. And the battery compartment, I believe, is this one here. Well, it's one of the two. I can't remember which one it is. One of them has got the battery, and the other one's got the fuses, and I think this lower compartment is the one that's got the batteries, but I can't remember. And it should be, I believe, a 9-volt battery. So let's open this up and we'll take a quick peek. You're going to need, obviously, a better screwdriver than what I have here. Starting to think this might be the fuse side. So it does have a couple of fuses in it, and we did not supply any fuses with it. So, you know, as you get to the videos, you're going to have to make sure that you're you know, hooking it up correctly when you're reading the amperage to make sure that you're not gonna blow a fuse. Boy, this screw doesn't really want to come out. I have a feeling this is the fuse side, given that the screw is so long on this. Yeah, so there's the fuses right there. So if you ever need to replace the fuses, you have to make sure that you buy the same type of fuse. So this is obviously the battery compartment. Oh, look how much easier that pops out there. So here's the battery compartment. Just pull that out. And there you go. So a 9-volt battery. Again, you know, I mean, it says it's rated for you know, 600 volts. I would be somewhat hesitant to use it. I mean, I have, you know, a little bit better meters to use for that. But it's certainly acceptable for the purpose we're going to be using it for. Again, just make sure you watch all the videos and make sure that you're being careful when you're using this meter. You can't really hurt yourself with it, you know, providing you're using the equipment that we supplied.